The night sky above the desert looked calm, but far beyond what human eyes could see, something very old was moving. In the dark sea between the stars, a thin silver wave of energy drifted slowly, like a forgotten whisper. It had been traveling for longer than human history, passing burned-out suns and cold dust clouds, waiting for someone to listen. In a remote part of North America, on top of a dry plateau, stood the Horizon Deep Space Array. It did not look like much from far away, only a circle of thin towers and quiet domes, their white surfaces glowing softly under the moon. Inside one of the main buildings, screens glowed in dim light and machines hummed in steady rhythm. Parker sat alone at his station, leaning back in his chair, drinking cold coffee that no longer tasted like coffee. The time was well past midnight, and most of the staff on duty were in other rooms, half awake, half asleep. His eyes moved across the data stream scrolling down his main screen, long columns of numbers and graphs that almost no one else enjoyed looking at. He did. He liked the silence, the slow dance of numbers, the feeling that somewhere in all this data, the universe was telling a story. He was 34, with short dark hair and a tired but steady face. He had grown up in a small town, far away from any big city lights, and as a boy he had loved to lie on the grass and watch the stars. Now he listened to them with machines instead. He tapped a few keys and shifted one of the data windows to the side. Most of the readings were normal. Background noise, radio waves from distant stars, the gentle buzz of the galaxy itself. He almost turned to check his messages when one graph twitched in a strange way. "That is new," he murmured. He leaned forward and enlarged the display. A thin spike had appeared in the noise, sharp and narrow, then vanished. It did not look like a usual signal. He checked the calibration, then checked the power levels, then the angle of the array. Another spike appeared, this one a little stronger, the same frequency, the same strange shape. Felt a slow chill in his chest. He quickly saved the raw data, then opened a second program to verify it. The spike came again and again, each time with a small delay, like a distant heartbeat. He rubbed his eyes and checked the sky direction. This signal was coming from far beyond the galaxy's main disk, from a region most charts showed as almost empty. There were no known colonies there, no trade lanes, no patrol routes. Most maps simply put a faint label there, uncharted deep. "Come on," he whispered, "what are you?" He ran the signal through a filter to strip away known space noise. When the data cleared, the pattern was still there, thin but clear. It was not random. It rose and fell in a rhythm that repeated every few seconds. Inside that rhythm, smaller pulses danced in ordered groups. His heart beat faster. Random space noise did not do this. Even most natural signals did not do this. He grabbed his headset and opened a channel to Central Control. "Control, this is in Sector 3. I have a possible anomalous signal from direction Delta 792. Can someone confirm a cross-check?" The voice that replied was sleepy but professional. "Copy that, sending it to the other arrays now. Hold the data steady." He waited, fingers tapping lightly on the desk. Outside, the wind slid over the domes and towers. The night felt deeper now, heavier somehow. On his screen, the spikes continued. Pulse. Pause, pulse, pause. It felt like someone knocking on a door. A second window opened on his screen. Another array across the world had picked up the same signal. Then a third. Then a satellite in high orbit confirmed it as well. The control voice came back, now more awake. "We see it too. How long has this been going on?" "About 3 minutes," he said. "It is stable. The pattern is repeating. This is not random." There was a pause on the line that lasted just a little too long. "Understood, record everything. Do not touch the main alignment until ordered. Senior staff are being." The channel closed, sat back for a moment and looked at the pattern again. He whispered to himself very softly, "You have been out there all this time, and we only hear you now." Within 30 minutes, the quiet building was no longer quiet. Doors opened and footsteps hurried down the hallways. People who had been sleeping at home were called in. Lights came on in offices that were usually dark at this hour. Moore, the chief signal analyst, entered the control room with a tablet in one hand and her hair still damp from a quick shower. She was in her early 40s, with calm brown eyes and a steady way of speaking that made people feel safe when things got strange. "Show me," she said simply. Brought up the raw feed in the clean pattern. Watched in silence, her eyes moving across the graphs. "Frequency?" she asked. He told her. She entered it into her tablet. "Source direction." He pointed to the coordinates. She raised her eyebrows slightly. "That far out?" "Yes," said, "past the main disk, almost where the star maps start to thin out." She nodded slowly. "How strong?" "Weak but consistent. It is old, the is extreme. I ran a rough calculation. This thing has been on the road for a very long time." "How long?" "Tens of thousands of years," he said, and he felt strange just saying it out loud. "Maybe more than that." Another person entered the room, slightly out of breath. Brown, mission planner and systems engineer, carried a small case and a stack of printed graphs. He was in his late 30s, tall and lean, with a quick mind and hands that always seemed to be moving. "They pulled me from my bed for this," he said, but there was a small smile on his face. "I hope it is worth losing sleep." Gestured to the screen. "Have a look, we may not be sleeping much for a while." Stared for a few seconds, then sat down. "Okay," he said slowly. "That is not natural background, not any kind I have seen." "It repeats," added. "Same clusters, same intervals. I tried matching it against known alien communication codes. No match. I tried known navigation beacons. No match." Folded her arms. "Run it through our oldest archive sets. Ancient contact logs, pre-expansion era, anything from when humanity first joined the wider network. See if there is even a partial match." Nodded and moved to a side station, fingers flying over the keys. Hours passed. The sun rose outside, but the team barely noticed. Data moved through different filters, languages, and code sets. Nothing matched. The signal remained what it was, patient, repeating, waiting. By midday, a secure call came in from the United Terran Council. The message was short. Keep monitoring, keep it classified, form a primary analysis team. Later that day, the new team met in a small conference room with dark walls and a large display on one side. The signal pattern floated there, like a small heartbeat against the black. Sat near the end of the table, next to Noah Carter, a quiet who had joined them just that morning. Noah had short sandy hair, glasses that kept sliding down his nose, and a habit of speaking only when he had something important to say. Opposite them sat Madison Clark, a young systems psychologist assigned to study how unknown contact events might affect crews and societies. She watched the pattern on the screen with a mixture of fear and fascination. Stood at the front of the room. "You all know why we are here," she began. 2 nights ago, our array picked up a repeating signal from well beyond our charted borders. The signal has been confirmed by independent arrays and orbital platforms. We have now had more than 30 hours of continuous reception. She tapped the display, the pattern enlarged. First point, this is not random. Second point, it does not match any known artificial code from our allies or former enemies. Third point, the analysis suggests that this signal is extremely old. Preliminary models place its origin time at around 80,000 years ago. The room went very quiet. Madison slowly repeated the number. 80,000 years. That is before human written history, before most of our myths. Before our species left Africa, Noah added softly. We were still learning to shape simple tools when this left its source. Spoke up. We checked if any of the older galactic powers logged something like this when they were young. The archives are messy, but there are hints. Vague stories, myths really. Different species speaking about a distant song in the dark, a guiding call that some heard and some ignored. None of them answered it, asked. If they did, there is no record left, said. Some said the call marked the rise of guardian races. Others said those who went never came back, so most chose to turn away. Nodded. Noah has been working on the internal structure. Noah adjusted his glasses and brought up another layer of data. Inside the main rhythm, there is a sub-pattern. Think of it like a voice inside a drum beat. The outer beat is simple and clear so that many types of ears can hear it. The inner voice is more complex. It is arranged in clusters that look like a language, but not one in any known database. Can it be decoded? Madison asked. Maybe, Noah said, but it will take time. What matters now is that it was designed to be readable. Whoever sent this wanted someone to understand one day. Leaned forward. And yet no one did, not for 80,000 years. Noah gave a small, sad smile. Maybe no one tried hard enough. Maybe the ones who tried did not survive long enough to finish. Looked back at the main star chart. The source direction puts it beyond the edge of the main disk, he said. There are old tales about that region. Pirates, ghost fleets, dead worlds, machines that kill anything that comes near. Nothing official, of course. Just stories passed between pilots in dark bars. Madison spoke in a quiet voice. Stories or not, most people do not go there. Let the silence hang for a few seconds. The Council has given us a temporary classification level, she said. For now, only a small circle knows the full details, but they also gave us a question. She turned to face them all. If this signal is a call, should we answer it? The room felt even smaller now. Listen to the hum of the air system, the faint buzz of the lights. Was the first to answer. We should not rush, he said. Old signals from deep space are how horror stories begin. This could be a trap, a lure from a dead empire still running on automatic. We send a reply and we wake up something we do not understand. Noah shook his head slightly. Or it is a plea for help from something that tried to guard life and failed. If no one answered for 80,000 years, maybe that is the real horror. Madison watched. What do you think? She asked. Everyone turned to him. He had not expected that, and for a moment he could not speak. He looked again at the pattern. It pulsed gently, steady and patient. I think, he said slowly, that this was not meant for the big empires. They heard it and turned away. They had their own wars, their own pride, their own fears. But we are different. We grew up under their shadow, but we do not carry their old weight. We still remember what it is like to be small, to be afraid, and still move forward. Maybe it was always meant for someone like us. Noah's eyes lit up a little. A late answer, he said, but maybe the right one. Madison tapped her pen on the table. If we answer, we change how the galaxy sees us, she said. We stop being the new arrivals and start taking responsibility. That can be beautiful. It can also be dangerous. Ended the meeting with a simple statement. The Council has already decided the basic path, she said. They want a closer look. They want a human crew to follow the signal to its probable origin and make a decision on site. Our job is to prepare that mission and gather everything they need to survive out there. Felt his chest tighten. A crew, he asked. We are sending people out there. Yes, said. A small exploration ship, fast and quiet with the best tools we can give it. We will not send a war fleet. We do not want to arrive with guns first. Spoke again. We have a ship being finished right now in orbit, he said. The Aurora Trail, experimental drive, long range, designed for deep survey missions. We were going to send it to study star-forming regions. Now it might have a different task. Madison looked at. "Are you going?" she asked. He did not answer right away. He saw again the thin spike on his screen, the first time it had appeared. The soft, steady rhythm. The feeling that someone, long ago, had whispered into the dark, hoping that someone else would care enough to listen. "If they ask me," he said at last, "I will." 3 days later, he stood inside a viewing deck high above the Earth, watching the Aurora Trail float against the curve of the planet. The ship looked small when compared to some of the great carriers and colony vessels, but up close it was still a giant of metal and light. Its hull was smooth and pale, broken only by thin dark lines where sensor arrays and engine ports lay hidden. Noah stood beside him, holding a small bag with his personal items. "I thought I would spend my life reading old signals in quiet rooms," Noah said. "Now I am going to follow the oldest one we ever found." "Nervous?" asked. "Yes," Noah said, "but also curious. Curiosity is louder." Madison joined them, her expression calm but her fingers clenched around the strap of her case. "Med clearance done," she said. "Psych profiles logged. We are officially allowed to risk our lives for the sake of the unknown." Gave a small laugh. "That is one way to put it." Arrived last, carrying a tablet filled with final checklists. "Drive systems are green," he said. "Navigation is clear. We have updated maps of everything up to the last known outpost. Beyond that, we trust our luck and my planning." "And the signal," Noah added. "It will guide us the rest of the way." They moved through the docking tunnel and entered the ship. Inside, the Aurora Trail felt new, almost too clean. The air smelled faintly of metal and fresh plastic. Corridors glowed with soft light. The main control deck had wide displays and comfortable seats, with a clear view of the stars beyond. Sat in the science station, Noah at the comms and analysis console at navigation, Madison near the rear, where she could monitor both the crew and the ship's mood. His face appeared on the main screen from the station outside. "Crew of the Aurora Trail," she said, "you know your mission parameters. Follow the signal, map the region, assess risk, and make a decision on whether to answer directly at the source. You have full authority to act if communication delay makes real-time orders impossible. Remember who you are representing out there." Felt the weight of those words. They were not just representing a council or a nation. They were representing humanity itself, a young species that had spent most of its life being told what to do by older powers. "Understood," said. "Good," replied. "Then it is time. Safe travels, and listen carefully to whatever waits for you out there." The screen went dark. The final checks were made. Clamps released. Gentle force pressed them into their seats as the ship drifted away from the station. "Secondary engines online," said in a calm voice. "Plotting course along the confirmed signal origin path. Once we clear the inner lanes, we will engage the main drive." Watched the Earth grow smaller behind them. Blue, white, and green, wrapped in thin clouds. Somewhere down there, billions of people went on with their lives, unaware of the thin, ancient song calling from the dark. "Signal lock?" he asked. Noah checked his console. "Locked," he said. "It is faint, but the pattern is still clear. Like a lighthouse that never went out, just moved far away." Madison closed her eyes for a moment. "We are really doing this," she whispered. Smiled. "We are," he said, "engaging primary drive in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched into thin lines, then into a soft mist as the Aurora Trail slipped into deep space mode, following the path of a voice that had waited 80,000 years for an answer. Behind them, the crowded lanes of known space fell away. Ahead, the dark edge of the galaxy opened its arms, quiet and vast and unknown. The Aurora Trail moved deeper into space, leaving warm stars and safe routes behind. The familiar glow of human traffic lanes faded into silence. Ahead was only the black sea of the unknown, broken by distant pinpoints of light and thin clouds of cold dust. The signal remained steady, like a slow pulse guiding them forward. Watched the data stream roll across his screen. The pattern stayed the same, but the strength crept upward. Each hour, the signal felt less like an echo and more like a presence, as if something far away knew they were moving closer. Noah leaned toward his console, adjusting filters. "It is getting clearer," he said. "Not louder exactly, more defined, like fog lifting from a shape." Did not look away from navigation. "That usually means we are on the right path," he replied, "or it means we are walking straight into trouble." Madison gave a quiet breath that might have been a laugh. "Those two things are not always different," she said. Outside the main viewing panel, the stars shifted as the ship adjusted course. Small fragments of rock and ice drifted past, slow and silent, like bones from forgotten worlds. Hours turned into days. The calendar lost meaning. The Aurora Trail continued forward, guided by numbers, light, and faith. The crew fell into quiet routines. Checks, rest cycles, short meals, then more checks. The silence between words grew long, but no one complained. The first sign that something was wrong came on the 5th day out. Noticed it first. "We have debris ahead," he said. "Not natural scatter, this looks arranged." Turned his view outward. The forward sensors painted a slow-moving cloud of metal fragments, twisted beams, torn plating, and dark shapes that might have once been parts of ships. Some pieces were as small as dust. Others were large enough to dwarf the Aurora Trail. "A graveyard," Madison whispered. Noah lowered his voice. "This region is not on any official chart. There are no logged battles here, no known disasters." "Yet someone died," said. He eased the ship to a slower pace, weaving between floating ruins. Faded hull markings slid past the screens. Many were unrecognizable, belonging to species that had faded or never joined the common galactic record. Some were older than modern space travel standards by tens of thousands of years. Felt a heavy pressure in his chest. "The signal passes straight through this," he said. "It does not avoid it. That means this field either formed around the signal source, or it formed after many tried to reach it." Noah nodded slowly. "Or failed to reach it," he corrected. As they passed deeper into the wreckage, the signal strength climbed again, steady and calm, untouched by the dead metal around it. The contrast felt wrong. Death on all sides, and yet the call remained patient, almost gentle. Madison watched the crew monitors. "Heart rates are rising," she said. "Not dangerously, just something to note. This place feels different to the body, even if the mind argues with it." Kept his voice even. "Focus on the path. Fear is useful only when it keeps us alive." When they finally cleared the ruined field, the view beyond made all of them fall silent. Before them lay the remains of a star system that should not exist. A dim dwarf sun hung in the center, pale and weak. Around it floated chunks of shattered planets, rings of fine debris, and enormous broken structures that could not have been natural. Fragments of something once very large encircled the dead world like a torn crown. Stared in disbelief. "This was not just a system," he said quietly. "This was a fortress or a city, maybe both." Noah brought a faint map overlay to life. "The structural patterns are consistent. Someone built this on purpose. A planet-sized framework now broken." Ran scans. Radiation levels are low enough for close approach, but the energy traces are old and strange. Not like our reactors, not like anything I know. Madison leaned forward. "And the signal?" Zoomed in on the projection. "Its source rests at the core of what is left, right there." He highlighted a dark central mass where the shattered frame seemed to cradle a silent sphere. It was smooth, almost too perfect, and it reflected no light. A thin glow pulsed faintly across its surface in the same rhythm as the signal. Noah swallowed. "It feels like a heart," he said. "Or a waiting eye," replied. The ship crept closer. As they entered the outer boundary of the structure, small objects detached from the broken framework. Dark shapes, thin and sharp like metal insects, drifted toward the Aurora Trail in slow, careful arcs. Stiffened. Contacts, he said. Multiple, unknown drones. They are not sending hostile signals, but they are scanning. Kept his hand steady on the controls. Do they carry weapon signatures? Minimal energy cores, answered. If they are weapons, they are not designed for brute force. Madison spoke softly. They are observing, like guards checking who is at the gate. Noah watched the signal change. The main pattern just altered slightly, he said. The inner cluster adapted. It responded to our presence. Felt both fear and wonder. It knows we are here. One drone drifted close to their forward hull. Its surface was dark, almost absorbing the faint light around it. Thin lines glowed along its edge as it traced slow circles around the ship, scanning every angle. Held his breath as it passed over the main sensor array, then moved away. The others did the same, forming a loose perimeter. No weapons fired, no warning sounded, only quiet observation. Permission to speak, Noah asked. Glanced at him. How? Through the signal, Noah said. Not words, not yet, just a basic response, a tone of acknowledgement to show we hear it. Felt the old weight of the question again. Answer or stay silent. Madison watched him. If it wanted us dead, it had many chances already, she said. This feels like a doorway moment. Hesitated, then nodded. Do it, but keep it simple, he said. No complex code, no promises. Noah adjusted his console and sent a short pulse back along the frequency. A gentle echo that matched the rhythm, but with a small variation, like a hand raised in greeting. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the main sphere at the center glowed a little brighter. The drones shifted position, opening a narrow path through the broken framework ahead. The signal tone deepened, slower now, like a calm breath. Whispered. It accepted us. Eased the ship forward into the opening corridor. Twisted beams and plates framed their way as they moved toward the silent sphere. The closer they came, the more the structure seemed to change shape, pieces adjusting as though making room for guests. Inside the framework, the empty space grew quieter than vacuum. No stray particles, no drifting dust. A perfect void surrounded the central mass. Noah watched in awe. This place is still active, he said. Not alive, but not dead either. Something here is holding on. Madison placed her palm on the console, feeling the faint vibration of the ship. It feels like walking into a memory that refuses to fade, she murmured. Said nothing. He focused on the sphere, on the steady glow that matched the signal they had followed for so long. Deep inside him, a strange calm began to grow, pushed aside the fear. Prepare for final approach, announced. If we are to make direct contact, it will be here. As the Aurora Trail reached a slow hover distance from the sphere, the surface shifted again. A narrow opening formed, like a petal unfolding, revealing a dark interior hollowed with soft, pale light. His voice was low. It is an entrance. Noah nodded. Or an invitation. Turned to the others. No weapons drawn, he said quietly. We go as we planned, slow, careful, clear eyes and steady minds. Madison straightened her shoulders. This is the point where stories change, she said, for better or worse. Breathed in, steady and deep. For understanding, he replied. With careful movements, the ship aligned itself with the opening. Soft guiding lights pulsed along the edges, showing them the path. The interior swallowed them in pale glow, and the outer stars vanished from view. Inside, the space was vast and smooth. Walls curved in gentle arcs, covered in faint lines that shimmered like frozen waves. The signal filled the air now, not just on screens but as a vibration felt through bone and skin. Noah whispered. It is beautiful, terrible, and lonely. Felt the weight of the silence settle around them. We finally hear you, he said, though the words were not sent through any speaker. We came because you called. No one could be sure if the structure understood those words, but as the ship moved deeper, the glow grew warmer, more focused, as if responding to their presence with quiet acceptance. Behind them, the entrance closed slowly, sealing them inside the heart of something ancient that had waited 80,000 years for a living voice to answer back. Inside the silent core, the Aurora Trail drifted forward like a leaf on calm water. The walls around them curved in smooth lines, pale light flowing across them in slow patterns that felt almost like breathing. Every system on the ship remained stable, yet the air itself carried a weight that none of them could explain. Watched his screens with careful focus. The signal now filled every channel, no longer just a data source but a presence that seemed closer than sound. It hummed through the hull, gentle and steady, like a memory that refused to fade. Noah adjusted his sensors again and again, his brow tight with deep thought. This is no longer just transmission, he said quietly. It is interaction. The field around us is changing. It is responding to our biological patterns. Kept the ship moving at the lowest possible speed. Then we are not just visitors, he replied. We are participants. Madison sat with her hands resting lightly on her knees, her eyes half closed as she listened not just with instruments but with instinct. I do not sense threat, she murmured. I sense recognition, like an old door opening for the first time in ages. Ahead, the chamber widened. The walls opened into a vast hollow ceiling lost in soft glow. At the center floated a structure unlike anything they had seen. It was not solid metal, not stone, not crystal. It looked like a web of light and dark matter woven into a calm spinning core. Streams of faint energy spiraled around it, each pulse matching the signal they had followed across the galaxy. Felt his breath slow. This must be the source, he said. Noah nodded, his voice low with awe. The echo core, whatever that means. As they moved closer, symbols shimmered across the chamber floor, forming shapes that felt meaningful even before they made sense. The ship systems translated nothing, yet the mind sensed order in the patterns. Spoke gently. We should prepare to send a clearer response. If this structure can change its field, it might also read our intent. Noah pressed a few keys and prepared a deep layered signal, still simple but more structured than before. A calm rhythm, a tone of respect, a suggestion of peace. He sent it. For a few seconds the core remained unchanged. Then the spirals around it slowed and shifted. The light deepened into warmer shades. Faint waves of energy rolled outward, brushing the hull like soft hands. Felt a quiet pressure in his mind, like standing near someone who wanted to speak but did not have a voice. Madison opened her eyes, surprised. I feel it, she said, not as words, as feeling, longing, tiredness, and something else too, hope. Noah swallowed hard. The field patterns are aligning with human neural frequencies, he said. It is trying to interface, carefully, without harm. Glanced at. Are we ready for that level of contact? Hesitated only a moment. If it waited 80,000 years, we can give it a few honest minds. He looked at Madison. Monitor everything. If stress spikes, pull us back. She nodded. Noah widened the interface bridge slowly, letting the signal link more deeply with the ship's systems and limited biometric channels. The chamber pulsed again, brighter now, but gentle. Inside's thoughts, images began to form. Broken stars, empty worlds, massive fleets burning in silent space, shadows moving across young galaxies, and through it all, a great machine spreading light like a shield. He did not collapse. He did not panic. The images floated like distant memories being shared, not forced. It is showing us its past, he whispered. Noah's face pale, nodded. Same here, a long war, not of greed but of survival, something hunted life itself. Felt the sway and held tight to his chair. I see defenses, massive systems built to protect whole regions, stars repositioned, space bent, whole civilizations united. Madison spoke softly. And then silence, something failed. The images shifted again. A golden age of peace, species growing, learning, thriving, then slow decay, guardians losing strength, systems aging, the echo core sending its signal again and again into the dark, calling for a hand that could bear the burden next. Felt sorrow deep in his chest. You were not a conqueror, he said gently. You were a shield. The core pulsed warmly, as if agreeing. Noah's voice shook slightly. Its creators designed it to seek successor minds, not rulers, caretakers, species able to feel and still choose to protect. Frowned. And none came for 80,000 years. An image flickered in their shared field, many ships approaching, many turning back, some destroyed by fear, others lost through pride, none willing to accept the responsibility once they understood the cost. Madison exhaled slowly. This is not just contact, this is a test. Straightened in his seat. What does it ask? Noah watched his console as soft symbols formed in shifting patterns. It shows two paths, he said. One is activation, full awakening of its protective systems. The other is rest, permanent sleep. Looked at him sharply. And what is the cost of activation? Images returned, energy drawn from living worlds, not enough to destroy them but enough to burden them, choices made in crisis, responsibility shared across species, constant vigilance, no throne, no glory, only duty. Spoke carefully. It would not make us gods, it would make us guardians, and guardians must suffer when others sleep. Noah nodded slowly. It also shows the alternative. If it sleeps, the old threat may not return soon, but the balance of the galaxy will weaken over thousands of years. Slow decay, slow extinction. Silence hung heavy inside the chamber. Broke it first. We did not come here seeking power, but we cannot ignore this. If we walk away, someone else may find it later, less careful, less kind. Madison looked toward the glowing core. It did not choose us because we were strong, she said. It chose us because we listened. Felt the truth of that settle like calm rain. Humanity has been protected before, he said quietly, by chance, by distance, by the sacrifice of others we never knew. Maybe this is our moment to return that debt. Noah glanced at him. This choice will shape who we become, forever. Nodded. Then we should make it as who we really are. He turned his attention fully to the core, letting his thoughts remain open but steady. You waited for minds that could feel and still choose to care. We are not perfect. We fight. We fail. We fear. But we also build, we heal, we protect our young, and we mourn what we lose. If this galaxy needs guardians, we will not take that role as masters, only as servants of life. The core's light deepened, surrounding the ship in a soft halo. Noah whispered, "It is evaluating." Tightened his jaw. Whatever happens, we stand together. Energy lines flowed from the structure, touching the hull in precise streams that felt warm instead of cold. Systems beeped softly as new data flowed in, not as commands but as understanding. Star maps of ancient threats, pathways to dormant defense networks, knowledge of systems that could bend space to shield worlds. Madison watched the readouts. "It is sharing with care," she said, "like teaching, not control." The mental images shifted one final time, now showing a vision of countless worlds connected not by fear, but by shared duty, guided by steady hands rather than clenched fists. Felt quiet resolve settle inside him. "We accept," he said simply, "not as rulers, as caretakers." The echo core responded with a pulse of brilliant light, not blinding, not painful, just full of calm power. The walls of the chamber glowed in harmony. The drones outside adjusted their positions, no longer as guards but as extensions of a greater network. Noah's voice was filled with uneasy wonder. The system recognizes us. It is integrating human cognitive patterns into its core protocols. Looked at the growing streams of data. It is rewriting its own language to match ours. Madison felt a strange warmth in her chest. It trusts us. Closed his eyes for a moment and breathed slowly. Then we must earn that trust, not just now, but every day after this moment. Outside the structure, beyond the broken remains of ancient defense rings, the echo core's signal shifted tone. No longer a lonely call into the dark, but a clear beacon of awakening. A new song carried on ancient paths, telling the galaxy that a response had finally come. Inside the chamber, the Aurora Trail remained steady and silent, as four human hearts watched history change around them, aware that their choice was only the beginning of a much longer duty that would echo through stars yet unborn. Inside the heart of the ancient structure, time seemed to move in a soft, slow way. The Aurora Trail rested within the glow of the echo core, surrounded by quiet light and gentle vibration. The choice had been made. The bond had begun. No alarms rang. No sudden force shook the ship. Instead, calm understanding spread through the chamber like warm air after a long, cold night. Watched as new data streams flowed across his console. They were not cold numbers alone. They carried meaning, maps, and layered memories. Routes between systems, patterns of old danger, and designs for shields that could protect entire worlds. All of it shared with care, not forced, not rushed. Noah's voice held a mix of wonder and caution. This is not a transfer. It is a partnership. It adjusts to us as we adjust to it. Nodded, eyes still on the control panels. Then our first job is to make sure we do not break what it tried so hard to preserve. He glanced back at the core, or let others misuse it. Madison felt the emotional wave settle into something clear and steady. It is no longer alone, she said softly, and neither are we. Outside the chamber, far beyond the broken fortress, the changed signal rolled into deep space. It carried no threat and no command. It spoke of renewal, of a system waking after a long sleep, guided now by fresh minds that chose care instead of control. Across distant regions of the galaxy, sensitive arrays owned by old powers and young nations alike detected the shift. Ancient elders turned uneasy. Commanders leaned forward in silent concern. Scientists stared at screens that showed a pattern they thought would never change. The call was no longer lost. It had been answered. On the Aurora Trail, a familiar image appeared on the main channel from far away. Her voice filtered through layers of delay. "We see the signal change," she said carefully. "We do not yet understand what you have done, but the readings are spreading to every major network. Report status. Are you safe?" Chose his words slowly, aware that history rested on honest speech. "We are safe," he told her. "We have made contact with the source. It is not hostile. It is ancient far beyond our own age. It has accepted human presence and shared understanding with us. We believe it is a protective system created to guard life across this region of the galaxy." There was a pause full of static and heavy silence. "And your decision?" asked. "We accepted stewardship," replied, "not as rulers, as caretakers." Added quietly, "This will require cooperation across species. It cannot be controlled by one hand." Madison leaned closer to the microphone. "This system respects empathy and balance. If we respond with pride or force, it may withdraw again." Another long pause followed. "I will pass this to the council," said at last. "Carefully, stay where you are for now. We need time to prepare the galaxy for what this means." Her image faded, leaving the crew alone again with the ancient light. Noah watched as new symbols formed on the chamber walls, slow and graceful. "It is not finished," he said. "It wants us to see more." Nodded. "Then we stay and learn." What followed was not a single moment but a gentle unfolding. The Echo Core showed visions of fallen guardian networks, star systems saved long ago, and young species sheltered from extinction. It explained not through words but through feeling and shared awareness. Its creators had been careful, patient, and deeply tired when they vanished. Madison spoke often now, not as a monitor but as a translator of emotion. "They carried this duty for longer than their own history," she said. "They did not die in battle. They faded under the weight of endless watch." Frowned thoughtful. "Then we must not repeat their mistake. Protection must not become silent isolation. We must share the watch." Noah agreed. "The core is designed for that. It reacts better when multiple minds align. It strengthens when unity forms." Felt the quiet truth of this. Then our role is to unite, not command, to guide conversation, not dictate it. Far from the core, tensions began to rise among known powers. Some feared what humanity had found. Others wished to seize it. A few saw hope where there had been none. Voices clashed in grand halls and shadowed stations. Yet none could reach the core without understanding the path the crew now walked. Within the structure, a final layer of connection revealed itself, a choice beneath the first choice. The core did not only seek activation, it sought balance in action. Noah translated the visual patterns. "It warns that raw power alone will attract the old threat again," he said. "If we wield this as a weapon, the system will break itself to prevent misuse." Felt firm resolve grow in his chest. "Then our oath must be clear. This cannot become a tool of war, only a shield of last hope." Placed his hand on the console. "And that oath must be public, known to all, so that unity holds us accountable." Madison smiled faintly. "A shared promise is stronger than any engine." Slowly the Echo Core adjusted its field again. The intense glow softened into calm stability. The interface eased, no longer pushing knowledge but waiting for careful guidance. It had passed its trust. Now the long task began. Hours later, the Aurora Trail drifted back toward the opening of the chamber. The structure unfolded smoothly, allowing the ship to leave without resistance. The drones shifted into silent formation around the outer ring, no longer watchful in fear, but steady in quiet order. Outside, the broken fortress looked different now, less abandoned, more like a waiting monument than a grave. Glanced once more at the central sphere before the ship turned away. "We will return," he said softly, "and we will not come alone." Noah nodded. "Not with armies, with voices that choose to protect." Guided the ship into open space, stars blooming across the view once more. Madison closed her eyes and whispered, "The galaxy will change after this, not because of power but because of a promise." As they began the journey home, the new signal spread far and wide. Ancient species recognized its tone and paused in wary respect. Younger worlds felt its calm pulse and wondered, and many who had lived in fear of the dark began slowly to dream of safer nights. Opened the long-distance channel once more as they cleared the transformation zone. "Mission report conclusion," he said clearly. "The lost signal has been answered. A new guardianship has begun. Humanity does not claim ownership, only responsibility. We will work with all who come in peace to keep the balance of life safe." There was silence, then distant voices returning across layers of time and space. Voices filled with fear, awe, and hope. Allowed himself one rare smile. "We just changed the tone of the universe," he said. Noah looked out at the stars, his eyes softer now. "Not by force," he replied, "but by listening." Madison leaned back in her seat, tired but calm. "We answered a voice that waited longer than our entire history," she said. "And we did not shout, we spoke softly." Watch the stars stretch ahead, countless and fragile and bright. And we will keep listening, he said, every day after this. Far behind them, the echo core remained active, quiet and steady, no longer alone. And across the galaxy, the lost signal that once faded in the dark now lived as a steady voice of guidance, carried by a species that had finally found its place not as conqueror, but as guardian of life. The ancient call had ended, but its purpose had just begun, and humanity answered not with fear or pride, but with care, understanding, and a promise to protect the fragile light of every world as if it were their own.